chaos ensued.
Please tell me you didn't do it.
Saying, what's this all about? You can't go onto the field of play.
There's allegations of match fixing, and you've been thrown out of the World Cup.
Gatorgate, I think a lot of the world media was calling it.
Guess the commentary member's perineum.
A member of the team's sexual mucus.
We are the only commentary team to ever be thrown out of a World Cup. Can you explain where the caravan was parked for this game?
If my memory serves me correctly, and it doesn't serve me very well for this particular game because I don't think I had any sleep for 2 days leading into this particular game. So we'd been up and I hadn't landed the plane for a couple of days, so I'm a little bit hazy, everything was a little bit weird, I wasn't seeing particularly well that day. Anyway, I believe it was behind the main stand somewhere. Again, no view of the field at all, just operating off a monitor.
I remember the back of things, but I don't remember a lot of cricket being in our direct line of vision.
The caravan, once again, was in a fairly obscure position. We couldn't see the ground once again. This was starting to become a kind of bit of a habit.
It was interesting, actually, in terms of the caravan positioning. It became more and more fraught. We started off right on the boundary line, you know, and then it just gradually seemed as our atrocities got worse and worse. Well, our supposed atrocities, I'll say, because some of them were just a setup, massive setup. Was I involved in either A, guess the commentator's perineum, or B, milk of the Japsie? I think I may have been involved in both.
As is always the case with the ACC, whenever there's a big story or an eviction from a ground or something that the media can get their hold of, it always seems to sort of run diversion for something else that's actually going on, that's actually worse. We were doing a competition, guess the perineum of, you know, certain commentators.
And so we would take a photo of one of the commentary team's perineum, the perineum being the bit between your testicle and your anus. And then we'd put it out on social media and someone would have to guess what it was and then they'd win a prize.
Playing with my perineum.
Are we going to call our winner now? Let's call our winner.
So this is the winner of the Identify the Perineum contest.
It's the huge inflatable penis.
Hello, Antoinette speaking.
Hello, Antoinette. It's Jeremy, Paul and Lee here from the Alternative Commentary Collective. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good, thanks. Antoinette, did you vote in our Guess the Commentator's Perineum competition?
I did.
And Antoinette, who did you guess? Who did you think it was?
I think it's Jeremy.
Well, Antoinette, I can proudly reveal that yes, that was my perineum. And you've won yourself a Kane Steady the Ship Williamson t-shirt. Thanks very much to Mr.
Well done,
Vintage.
me.
And for a good-looking man, he had a disgusting perineum.
I think Jeremy also ran with the Milk of the Japsie competition.
I think there was some footage that we'd sent out via social media of a member of the team's sexual mucus.
So then we also all ejaculated into a thing and you had to guess the commentator's milk of the Japsie. I think it was Jason Hoyt's, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Game carried on. We won the game by 6 wickets. Another win. New Zealand going great. We were flying back to Auckland, so we were at the airport, and I had like maybe 10 missed calls on my phone from the GM of Talk or whatever at TRN at the time, who was in charge of radio sport. So I rang him back, and his line was, "Please tell me you didn't do it." And I was like, fucking hell, we've done a lot of shit. He goes, "Please tell me you didn't do it." I said, "Do what?" And he goes, "Please tell me you didn't do it." And I was like, in my head, I was like, well, there's the commentator's perineum. And he goes, "What?" And I went, "The milk of the Japsie, the mucus, the love mucus?" And he's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
There was any number of crimes that had been committed in their caravan. There was terrible Trojan horsing going on in terms of alcohol. And
"What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Apparently, you stole a drinks trolley, you drove it out in the field, you interviewed players, and there's allegations of match fixing, and you've been thrown out of the World Cup." Thrown out of the World Cup. 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 Thrown out of the World Cup.
And really, when G. Lane answered the phone, I think he thought, okay, we're done here on a number of issues. And never in his mind did he think it would be anything to do with going out onto the field, Lee Hart being out on the field on the drinks trolley, because Lee Hart didn't want to be out there, we didn't want him to be out there, we'd been pressured into it.
You see, you've got to understand by this stage, the relationship between the ACC and authority was getting a little bit tense. And so this was just disgusting to them. But it was a total setup. The authorities had got sick of us, even though we were going great guns.
The Drinks Trolley Incident. So here's the background. Pepsi sponsored the ACC for that Cricket World Cup. They were our sponsor. Pepsi owned Gatorade. Gatorade were the official drink sponsor of the World Cup.
There was a lot of pressure on the ACC, various members of the ACC, to go out and serve the drinks on there seemed to be some kind of sort of phallic golf cart type situation.
So there's 4 drinks breaks. And the fourth way, they'd drive wounders out who are winners in the first 3 drinks breaks. They'd drive them out as a prize winner. And there was always the 4th drinks break was the spare one. And Pepsi said it'd be great if an ACC person can go out in the drinks trolley in the 4th drinks break.
The New Zealand cricket team was doing so well in the tournament that it never got to the point where the second innings drinks trolley was going out.
The first 3 games, we absolutely humped the teams. So I think it was Scotland, England at Wellington, and then Australia didn't go the distance because it was so low scoring. The Afghanistan game was the only game that went to the 4th drinks break.
So whilst there was a lot of pressure on us to do it, it never came up until that Afghanistan game. So Lee Hart reluctantly agreed to do it. It sort of came up as his turn. I do remember Lee Hart distinctly saying, I really don't want to do this.
I think we did a paper, rock, scissors of who was going to go out, and it was decided that Lee Hart should go out because he was the most recognisable member of our commentary team. He was bald, he was large, and he was liked by the players. And so the idea was that he was just going to drive the drinks trolley out there. That was all that was going to happen. He was going to turn around and come back out again. And I'm pretty sure that that is exactly what happened.
I end up on the field with the drinks trolley. And of course, naturally, people are thinking the fix is that I'm out there giving information. There's the bookies in India or Afghanistan are giving me information and this sort of stuff.
Just to be clear, the drinks trolley goes out more as a TV marketing thing with the giant phallic bottle. They don't actually go to the teams. The teams have their own drinks. This goes out to the umpires only and just as a visual. And the ground announcer recognised him, started playing Hamster Man from Amsterdam's theme song.
Gerbils and hamsters, that's his game. You want a small rodent, just call out his name. He's the Hamster Man.
Which was like, and then introduced him and goes, ladies and gentlemen, another Gatorade, Lee Hart! And he's like, oh fuck. And like he was trying to go out there and come back. He goes out, he gets off the trolley, Guptill and I think it was the hairy Jav came past and we're like, oh, g'day Lee. And he's like, oh, he goes, what are you doing here? He goes, I just can't bring drinks. So there was a little bit of chat between him and the players.
He went out there, took the drinks out to the players, gave them some great advice too, because they were floundering a little bit.
I'm not sure who complained. I think it was a competing commentary team had complained about us being out there. There was someone that was looking to shut us down had complained that we'd been out there and somehow violated the rules of commentators talking to players on the field around rights issues or whatever. Lee Hart didn't want to talk to anyone. He got surrounded by the players. He doesn't know anything about cricket. He wasn't going to talk about cricket. He certainly wasn't looking for an interview. He was looking to get back into the caravan and have another drink, primarily. It was over him. So I know that G. Lane was very, very surprised when the crime that we had committed was one that it almost felt like entrapment, I think, because we had no interest in being out in the trolley.
Let's just say I feel like the beginnings of the controversy started from within.
Anyway, so he came back off the field. We thought it was pretty funny because it was just like this giant dude in a beige suit, bald head, giving out drinks to the umpires. Came back in, pretty nonplussed about it.
I don't know what happened after he'd driven the drinks trolley out and come back, but between the moment that he drove back and the next day, someone spoke to someone who spoke to someone who got freaked out about something, and the next thing you know, it was a headline in the paper and We were being accused of all sorts of things. Lee Hart was being accused of hijacking the drinks trolley.
I mean, that has happened in the past. I have been involved in that match fixing type stuff, but not at that level, more sort of fourth grade kind of stuff.
We were thrown under the bus by absolutely everyone involved.
So I ring Pepsi and I was like, Pepsi, this is what's happened. They're like, oh my God, so sorry, we'll sort it out, blah, blah, blah. Didn't hear from them ever again. They ran for the hills.
So yes, we were banned from the actual games themselves, or being at the actual games.
That's a blow for a cricket commentary team. You know, you've got one job, which is to call the games. They've already put you in the car park so you can't see the games. And they're like, no, not even the car park. Not even the car park. We want you nowhere.
And we ended up doing it at the basement of Cook Street, the old Cook Street where Radio Hodaki used to be. I remember it was pretty grody and it didn't quite have the atmosphere of the caravan on the ground, so it was a bit of a tragedy.
And then when we were asked to send back our passes, because they asked us to send back our passes, we sent them back with a whole lot of used condoms. Do I think that was a wise thing to do? Yeah, I think it was the right thing to do at the time. I think they needed to have a message sent to them.
In hindsight, the best thing that ever happened to us, because we were front page of the Herald for about 3 or 4 days in a row, because I think to this day, we are the only commentary team to ever be thrown out of a World Cup. And I'm proud of that.
I think the ACC coming on board as an official commentator, it was a bad thing for the game in terms of the amount of sexual content that was injected into it. But I think it was a hugely positive thing in terms of the 8 people that were directly involved in the game.
It was positive for us. We got to watch cricket for free inside of a caravan and have someone mixing drinks for us.
The fact is, at the start of that series, we had zero audience. There were 0 listeners because it didn't exist. So we were on iHeart only. So we were on a digital platform only. So quite hard to find. We had a 0 audience. But by the end of it, you know, I think it was like 15,000 people were tuning in.
And most of the time, we would be talking about stories that had happened in the past. We weren't really that focused on the cricket, which was quite good. So it was really like just travelling around the country with your friends, sitting in a caravan and watching cricket and having drinks made for you. We were living the dream at that point.
It certainly had a positive effect on cricket. And when I say cricket, I'm talking about cricket fans, because end of the day, what we wanted to do was make cricket more accessible to more people. And we turned a lot of people, male, female, young and old, back into cricket.
My sister-in-law, who hated cricket, but was absolutely into the ACC commentary. And I think the whole idea of the ACC was to bring people that maybe weren't massive cricket fans into the game, which we did. And I think it took a lot of the establishment by surprise and how successful it was.
Great for me personally and my fandom of cricket. The game as a whole, I'll leave that to historians to work out, but my guess was it was a net negative.